Well, hello there. How are you? I am doing just fabulously. Welcome to another episode of The Working Ant with me, your proud and privileged host and coach, Rami Balut. It is absolutely wonderful to be with you today. Coming to you a little bit later in the week, only because yours truly has been quite busy. I'm sure you have as well. After all, we're all working ants here. I'm on the hustle, trying to make a dollar holler, as they would say here on the West Coast. They probably would say that pretty much anywhere here in the country, especially these days with the macroeconomic climate. You probably have been well aware. Interest rates are spiking up. I think I just listened to a video of the chairman of the Federal Reserve saying, you know what? I am Mr. Powell, and I am going to decide when things are going to stop, but they are stopping. It would be wrong to consider pausing. I think that's what I've actually heard. And, I wouldn't be surprised if things continue in a momentum of adding higher interest rates. That's really just the way things go, and hopefully for good reason, beyond our paychecks, our power, our politics, our control, as are a lot of things. But if you've been tuning in to the Working Ant, you'll probably you've probably been hearing me say several times over that it's always the things that we actually can control that we should be focusing on, most especially our narrative, most especially how we feel, most especially what we plan on doing with those things we can control. And on today's episode, we're going to be talking about a fairly contentious topic. I'm trying to break it down for you. This idea of caring versus the cure. Why am I going to be talking about this today? Why it's important to you? There's no fluff here. I'm just going to say it as it is, real talk. Many of times, I'll have people come to me and say, Rami, I just need to make this career transition. Enough is enough. Rami, I need to get promoted. Rami, I want respect. Rami, I want to do so much more for myself. I just need something now instantaneously. Is there a magic pill? Is there a magic potion? Is there a magic mantra? Is there something that I can be saying or doing to make it all better for me? I just want the cure. And in reality, really, what I believe is what you need is really just some extra care, but some specific, prescriptive, impactful, and valuable care that you may not be aware of, only because, well, you know what? You're on the hustle, and time flies, and things move quite fast. And so I want to make sure that you're in a position of where you really know how to be most effective, arming yourself with some thoughts, of some emotions, some things to keep at the forefront of your mind as you're pushing your way towards the holidays, towards the end of the year. And that's when obviously these resolutions come to play more so than ever before. So let's get into it. Why the care versus cure? This is like a common fallacy that comes about several times. We're thinking about something that can change our state, our mental state, our emotional state. It could be something that we're working towards and changing our physiology, our physical state. And it could be, more so of a skill set sort of thing where we're we need to really up level our skill sets in order to achieve things more so than ever before. And this may stem from, our desire to, our aspirations. It also could stem from, a requirement for us to actually get to the next level. But the care versus cure fallacy happens time and time again, where we're really focused on the outcome. We're focused on what we actually need, and we lose track of who we should become. And I think, the care versus cure sort of umbrella around this should paint a very clear picture. And I'll give you an example of what that actually means. So let's just say, God forbid, you are feeling sick and you're not feeling well, to the point where you say to yourself, you know what, enough is enough. I've got to go get some help. ASAP. You go to a doctor, finally, you schedule an appointment with a doctor. I laugh almost when I say that because, I should be scheduling like my own physicals and being really, really sure I'm taking care of myself, as should you. But let's just say, you're not feeling well. You go to the doctor and the doctor says, you've got a choice here. We can let this thing go. We can monitor it, see what happens, drink some fluids, get some rest, de-stress, whatever it is. Or we can put you on a program of care. It could be, let's just say, for the sake of this hypothetical, some antibiotics, a program maybe to lose some weight, whatever it may be. But this level of care, this idea of like, hey, you know what? We don't know exactly what's going on. We know you want to feel better. We don't know exactly how to make you feel better, but we can let things go. We can make things pass with time, or we can put you on a program of some level of care. Typically human nature says like, you know what, we want to take action of some sort. And this may be in a form of like a bias, like, hey, you know what, there's something going on. We need to take action towards this. I know many of you may be facing this in your careers right now, especially those of you in leadership positions where their macroeconomic climate is not doing so well. And you've been asked to really cut down costs, perhaps manage out people on your teams that have not been performing well, or take some level of action towards making the company, organization, even your own business, feel like it's getting some level of nourishment in that, you're cutting costs. You're making sure that you are investing in the essentials without perhaps losing track of the actual goal itself. But nevertheless, there's a specific action that you are actually taking because the times actually call for it. And, it should be no surprise to you that whether it's a visit to the doctor or whether it's in your own company, whether it's how you're feeling personally at the moment, whether you are employed or not, if you're not feeling well about something, you typically want, boom, some instantaneous, pain relief, something to make you feel that, the end, the transition is right around the bend. Things are going to work out, and as they should, by the way. But you know what? You're focused on the cure when in fact, really, it's the care that you should be focused on. And the reason why I want to focus on this sort of idea of like an action bias and a fallacy is because, there is some bias in how we conduct ourselves when we are feeling in a particular way. And, just like someone will tell you like, hey, you know what? Keep a journal, write your thoughts down. Don't trust your memory. I'm going to tell you right now, write this down. Don't trust how you're going to feel right after this conversation, right after this session with me. Think about this and write this down. Find a way to take some level of action, because where we get to through all this and where we lead to when we're thinking about the cure, when we really should be focused on the care, when we have a particular action bias, when we really should be thinking about not necessarily just the outcome itself, but who we're actually going to become as a result of those outcomes set forth by us, by our organization, by our business, by what's needed at this point in your life, is this idea of like an expectancy to value sort of trap. And what I mean by that is as follows. Typically within human nature, we have like an expectancy to value sort of bias for action. And what I mean by that is this. If, we are perceiving a level of value that is somewhere down the line, it could be in the short term, it could be in the long term, but there's some sort of like value for us in the outcomes we are setting for ourselves. How we usually measure our motivation is typically through the expectancy of that outcome. So let's just say, for example, you are right around nearing promotion, growing your scope, growing your impact, or for those of you that are in a career transition, perhaps moving from a certain level to another, perhaps to a company's products and services that you can actually support. If there is a strong value there through that outcome, there's a level of expectancy that we actually have towards it, and that impacts how motivated we are to work towards it. So let's just say, the outcome was like, hey, if you work towards this, you're going to get about a 10% increase in your compensation versus another outcome where it's like 30%. Just to simplify things, you're more likely to work harder for the 30% than you are actually working for the 10%. And this is really the expectancy value trap. We are actually motivated, literally motivated by the amount of energy we put, the amount of focus we put, the amount of dedication we put based on the expectancy of that outcome. This is the expectancy value sort of way of conducting ourselves. I actually think of it as a trap. And the reason why I believe it's a trap is for the same reason of, focusing on the cure versus the actual care. It's because, we may be moving towards something that is a goal that we set or has been set for us with a level of value that, may or may not actually motivate us to work for something even greater in the long run. And what I mean by this is as follows. So if you're in a position where you're about to get promoted, or for example, things are about to get better for you, you're getting over an adverse performance evaluation, or, you're getting over like an adverse perception of yourself, or you're even like leveling yourself to a point where, hey, you know what? The association to you is so much better than it once was, and you feel like you've got it all together. That outcome itself is a beautiful thing and a noble thing to pursue. But what tends to get lost is actually who we're becoming as a result of that outcome. It's as simple as me saying, the goals that you're going to set for yourself are going to determine the actions and behaviors of yourself, of your team, whomever it actually is. This is sort of like where, personal efficacy, self-efficacy, your idea of, this idea of like really truly believing you can achieve something gets in the way of who you're becoming while you are trying to achieve it. And, if it sounds like it's a little much right now, think about all the times, I encourage you to think about all the times that you have been in pursuit of that goal. And, upon achieving that goal, when was the last time you actually reflected on the person you became in pursuit of it? And, if you're like most, typically wouldn't be thinking about that too much. Achieved your goal, you'll celebrate it. You'll probably wonder like, hey, what's next for me? What's on the other side of things? But very, very rarely will you ever really think about like who you became in pursuit of that goal. And so there's a level of like expectancy value that typically takes place when we are in pursuit of something super special. If I'm really passionate about something, I am going to obsess about it. I'm going to pursue it. I'm going to be thinking about it. I'm going to be dreaming about it. I'm going to be, just doing everything I can to focus in on that goal to ensure that I am best positioned to achieve it. I don't want you to lose sight of the actual individual you are becoming as a result of in pursuing that goal. Many of times when we achieve that goal, we may not be the same person coming out of it. We may have adopted new values, new principles, new ways of conducting ourselves that, may or may not actually be aligned to who it is we truly are. And the last thing I want you to do is actually lose yourself in that process. So if you're looking to, up-level your organization, make people feel that they are recognized, make people feel like they are truly acknowledged for all the work that they've been doing, there's nothing more noble than that goal. What I'm asking you to do is ensure you're not losing yourself in the process. So your motivation, your intentions behind pursuing your goals should first and foremost be inward, personally developing yourself even more so than where you are right now. Now, I know that may seem a little different than what you've been hearing, I would just say across the airwaves here. There's a lot of information that's out there. But I can assure you, from my practice, what I have seen over the years being a coach is that if we lose sight of who we are to become, we actually lose sight of like the actual true outcomes that are aligned to us, that are more sustainable, that have much more quality and longevity in the long run. And so as you are in pursuit of these goals, You can think through like how motivated you may want to be based on like what the outcome is that you may achieve. But just remember, it's you focusing on yourself, who you're actually becoming in pursuit of those outcomes. That should mean the most to you. I believe that you're able to achieve most of the things you're set out to achieve. I believe that you should be setting yourself up for a much higher standard in how you conduct yourself, what you demand of yourself, how you interact and contribute with others who may be less privileged than you are. And believe me, there are a lot of less people privileged than you are. If you're listening to this, there are a lot of people that are less privileged than you are. I've said this before, I'll say it again. What we want for ourselves, we must be prepared to give away. And, if we're motivating ourselves to achieve a particular goal, I will argue, motivate yourself to become a better person, to at least understand who you are in the process of becoming in pursuit of those goals. Because once you've pursued them, once you've reached that level, once you may have plateaued in pursuit of your goals, you know what? You've got to be self-reflective and look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what? Who have I become in the process? And that pursuit is more noble than anything else that is worthy of pursuit to begin with. Keep that in mind. And up until next time, what a privilege it is to be with you. Thank you for investing your time with me. Thank you so much for your love and support. Remember, things may not be easy. There's a lot of uncertainty down the line. We may be more afraid of getting pinched than the actual pinch itself. I'm one to believe to see things as they are for what they are. And if you are in a position of influence, of authority, it's your obligation to see things better than what they are, as an individual, as a human being, as a contributor, as a leader, as someone who has so much to give this world. Remember, there is so much to look forward to. That narrative is yours and yours alone to control. Until next time, for real this time, this is your host and coach, Robbie Balut, and I will catch you next week. Bye for now.